Today. I've been working on bringing Debra Shrider to you guys for like 3, 4 months. So I am very happy to have her here with us. She has her own, gosh, I don't even know what you would call it, Debra. It's like she's a wizard with communication and the written word, and she has a company called Put It in Writing. And I'm just so excited to have her with us today. And she really has been in the real estate field indirectly for a very long time. So the stuff she's going to bring you guys today directly relates to the real estate industry and how you can make the most of, again, the written word in a way to benefit your business. So please welcome Miss Debra Shrider.
Thank you, everyone. And if I can share my screen with you guys. Here we go. That brand called you. I will tell you that this series that I'm presenting to you was actually an offshoot from a leadership academy I did for the Orange County Realtors, and I did a bio class. And 3 of my alumni put together a Facebook group that took off like crazy called Real Estate Pros Without Borders. And I did this class for them, and they said, "What else have you got?" And so I ended up putting a whole series together called the Right Stuff Lab for Real Estate Pros, which is a brand new 6-series course. And you guys are the first franchise, the first real estate company to do the whole series. So I'm very, very excited to be presented to you. So let's dive right in. I'd like to mention that the sponsors of this series for you: Point Mortgage, Brian Moscow; the president of Euro Termite Control, Andrew Howarth; and then Brandy Zamora with Fidelity National Home Warranty and Disclosure Source; and last but not least, Essex Mortgage, Bob Maldonado. So thank you, people, for bringing me to you guys. A little bit about me: as Nick said, I've been in the industry for a long time. I've actually worked for 5 different real estate associations, and I founded my business, Put It in Writing, in 1998. And I've written for a CAR and NAR presidents, agents worldwide. I am a Londoner, was born in London. I moved to the USA in 1981, and I became a citizen in 1998. So I do speak very quickly. So I'm going to caution you. You know, when you want to focus on something you're looking at, you squint and you lean in. I'm going to ask you to squint with your ears and lean in, because I do go fairly quickly. So let's dive right in. Enough about me. So I'm going to start off with important B words, and you pretty much know what those are going to be: your brand and also your bio. And that's so the word bio kind of strikes fear into a lot of people's hearts, because they don't know what to say about themselves. They feel awkward. It's one of those things that you put on the back burner and I'll get to it later, and you never do. So I'm hoping that by the end of today and the next class, you'll be very comfortable with tackling that and getting it off your to-do list and onto your ta-da and done list. So talking about a brand, I'm going to dive in a little bit about branding. People tend to think of brands as a logo, and it's not just a logo. It's more than a graphic image. The brand is how a consumer feels about doing business with you. A brand is what one consumer tells another consumer what it is about, like doing business with you. Or as Jeff Bezos says, it's what the person says about you when you walk out of the room, right? So having said that, my definition of a brand, there's tons of definitions of the brands, and some of them get really into the weeds, but basically, I think it's the personality of a business. So what's its name? How does it communicate? In other words, its positioning. What are its core values? What does it stand for? Who does it associate with? That's your target market. And is it well-known brand awareness? Now, you guys are really lucky because you are already affiliated with a large, well-known corporate brand called Will Banker, and you have all their branding assets to put to your advantage. But what I'm going to talk about today is personal branding, which is the other type of brand that you need to be aware of. So when you go to build your personal brand, here's some do's and don'ts. First of all, don't create a facade of who you want to be known versus who you are, and don't compare yourself to anyone else. You do want to identify your unique value proposition. You know, what is it that makes you stand out, makes you different from everyone else? Because let's face it, your competition is the agent in the next desk. They've got all the same bells and whistles as you do. So it's you that makes you different. And I know this is something people really struggle with. How do you identify your unique value proposition? I have a solution for that. That is going to be our class on April 7th. So you'll find out, if you don't already know, how to get to that point. You do want to make sure that your message is authentic. It's better not to have a brand than to be a fake. And what does your personal brand include? What does that really mean? It's basically every message you send out about yourself, every comment you make on social media, the people you hang out with, the activities you do outside of real estate, everything makes a part of who you are, is part of your brand. So you need to be aware of that. You do want to be authentic. So what does that mean? What does that really mean? So I've got an example here. Sustainability as an umbrella term is becoming meaningless. I mean, how many times have you heard about green and sustainable and eco-friendly? These are terms that are bandied about in so many different industries. And it's almost become like white noise now. But you know what they found is the Consumer Protection Group found that 42% of sustainability claims made by brands online were exaggerated, false, or deceptive. And so here's an example here. So this is if you haven't come across Tom Fishburne before, he's got a company called Marketunist. He's an ad agency guy, and he's really amazing at cartoons and really kind of bringing over the message visually. And this is one that he had done about sustainability I wanted to share with you. So what's our plan for sustainability? Our brand is already sustainable. Our packaging is recyclable, at least theoretically, in a lab test. We donate to causes with green names. We even use claims like eco-happy. But isn't there more we can do? Of course, we haven't started advertising about it yet. So, you know, that's not really being authentic. You're pretending to be something you're not. And there was a college student a few years back now when the whole green thing started off. And he was actually at a hotel, I think it was in Thailand. And there was a little note on his pillow. And I'm sure you've all seen them when you've been to hotels. You know, we're trying to protect the environment. If you don't want your towels washed, you know, hang them up and, you know, we won't wash them every day. And he thought, oh, that's nice. And then he looked out the window and he saw that the hotel was building a great big development right on the edge of the rainforest. So it was kind of like, well, wait a minute, you're going to not let me wash my towels, but you're affecting the environment in the rainforest. So you really want to be authentic and don't pretend to be something you're not. And talking about green, I have to share something that popped into my head this morning. I don't know those of you who were around a long time ago, but there was a very well-known cartoonist who was in the local papers called Kathy Guyswhite. And she had a really kind of funky sense of humor. And in one cartoon in particular stayed with me, and it was, why is it if it's green, grainy, or greaseless, it's good for you? And I thought that was so funny because isn't that the truth? So the takeaway here, if you can't trust a brand, a company, or a person, nothing else they do will matter. Nothing else. You want to be trusted by everyone with whom you interact, because even a little bit of mistrust can cause lasting damage. And Warren Buffett said, it takes 20 years to build a reputation and 5 minutes to ruin it. And if you think about that, you'll do things differently. I would posit that today with social media and everything that's online, you've probably got 5 seconds for it to get ruined. It's one click and you're there, right? So how can you make sure that you've got a good reputation? If you haven't already done it, you might want to set up for google.com/alert. So you can put in your name, your company name, any names that you've done business under, and it will alert you every time your name comes up. Some people even use it for their property listings because they don't want these Craigslist scammers to, you know, look at the property and put it on as a rental scam, you know. So Google Alerts is free. So if you want to do that, it's a great way of keeping track that everything's, you know, as you'd like it to be out there. So here's a tip. As a brand, you're going to believe in your own hype because you invested in the process, right? You've been putting all your branding together. So you always have to ask someone these two very, very special words. So what? And later on in this presentation, I'm going to tell you how to use so what and why it's so important that you remember those words. So basically, if you're in the real estate industry, you sell houses and property, but you're in the business of relationships, right? I mean, if you don't have a relationship, you're not going to get the listing or the sale. So the most important brand is you. So here's 3 tips to get your personal branding. You want to identify your target market. You want to create a professional image, which is a kind of no-brainer. And content, you want to share content that is relevant and timely. So with content, people worry about it, but really there's tons of content out there. Document your day-to-day activities. People love to have a sneak peek at behind the scenes. You know, if you've got a listing coming up, you might want to do a quick, you know, show the front, and guess what? I've got this listing, it's going to be great. Don't get hung up on being super interesting. You really want to be consistent more than worrying about that you've got the most, you know, interesting thing out there that's going to go viral. Don't just post it and forget about it. Analyze it, look and see where the people are clicking on it and liking on it, which ones they like, which one they don't. And don't get into your head, you know, just make it happen. People kind of stress out about content. So talking about your brand, what is your story? What are you known for? Now, you could be known for your geographic farm area. You're the area expert. And I do want to say here, one of the things that really drives me crazy, and I have interviewed probably thousands of people over the years writing their bios, and they say, oh, I'm the neighborhood expert. So I said, okay, well, explain to me how you're the neighborhood expert, because, you know, geographic farm areas are not done by just one agent. I mean, you can have several agents from different companies all farm in that area, and they're all saying they're the neighborhood expert. So what makes you the neighborhood expert? You can be the neighborhood expert, but you have to tell them and show them that you are. And I'm going to tell you how to do that in the next slide. Maybe you're known for your particular property specialty. Do you work with beach properties, condos, horse properties, new construction, multifamily, investment properties? Maybe it's more that's your niche. Or it could be a demographic specialty. Do you like working with first-time home buyers, move-up buyers? Is there a specific ethnic group that you're tied into? Empty nesters, investors, seniors? You know, what is it? And I'm saying you can't do one to the exclusion of all others. You know, obviously you probably do a little bit of everything on that. But if you've got a specialty, you really want to make sure that you bring that out and use that to your advantage. So I'm going to give an example of an agent here branded to a geographic area. She's actually on the East Coast. And over here on the screen on the right is what her cover page on her website looks like. And as you can see, you get a good sense just by looking at her that she likes pets, she's got family, she's got her kids, grandkids here. She likes to work out. She has a fitness interest. So I'm going to read you what she has written, and it really kind of positions her as a neighborhood expert. And when I'm finished reading her 2 paragraphs, I want you to try and guess what one item really captured my attention. So she says, when I want the freshest oysters, I don't go to the fish counter at the grocery store. I go to John, the East Dennis oyster guy. When my husband wants a perfectly tailored suit, we don't go to the mall, we go to Puritan Clothing in Hyannis. When I want the best chocolate this side of the Alps, I don't go to the candy store, I go to the hot chocolate Sparrow in Orleans. When you want a home on Cape Cod, entrust your dream to Katie Clancy and the Cape Cod house team. Then she gets a little deeper dive into more personal. In my previous life as a teacher, I helped to found the Cape Cod Lighthouse Charter School in Orleans, and I later taught at the Laurel School in Brewster. Peak life experiences include singing Orff's Camina Burana with the Chatham Chorale and the Cape Symphony Orchestra, completing my first Hyannis sprint triathlon, and giving birth to my 4th daughter at Falmouth Hospital. A Cape Codder since I was a kid, I can find you the right house, bank, builder, school, auto mechanic, and yes, even the right oyster guy. So when you read that, you instantly get the impression that she really knows her neighborhood. She knows her community. There is no doubt in your mind that she knows what's there. And so when you say you're the neighborhood expert, you want to explain to people why you are the neighborhood expert. Now, would anyone like to hazard a guess there as to what caught my attention? Anyone here? I don't think I have the chat room here. I don't see it here. So anyway, what it was, and I like hot chocolate? No. Am I a triathlon? No, I'm the least sports person you could think. What caught my attention was something that you probably think, what the hell is that? And that's also Camina Burana. Okay, so you're thinking, what the hell is Orff's Camina Burana? It gets even more esoteric. It's actually a Gregorian chant. Now, why would I know that? And I'm telling you, you probably know what it is too when I tell you. It's actually the favorite piece of music of my partner. And I surprised him one time. I picked him up from work and said, okay, we're going somewhere. I wouldn't tell him. Took him to the Orange County Pacific Symphony, and they had an evening where they did perform Camina Burana with the local chorale. And if you've heard the music, you'd say, I've heard that before. You'll find it in a lot of the background of ads. It's a chant area, kind of builds up excitement. But if you heard it, you'd say, ah, now I know what you're talking about. But that's kind of a weird thing, right? I have all that items that would catch my attention. So when you're writing your bios, you want to put your personality in there, because you never know what someone's going to pick up on. So here, also words with visuals. Now I'm a wordsmith, I love words, but words with visuals are a great way to connect to people. And this visual has been around a long time. You've probably seen it. If you haven't, it's a great one. A realtor is not a salesperson, they're a matchmaker. They introduce people to homes until they fall in love with one, then they're a wedding planner. And I thought it was and so I don't know if you're familiar with Canva. There's a lot of programs out there that have great visuals. If you have a favorite quote that resonates with you, or you see a quote, you can put it with a great background and post it on your Facebook page and just say, I wanted to share this with you. It was so apropos for today, or whatever. So you can really get your brand personality out by doing that. Incidentally, I shared this with a client of mine a couple of years ago. I was writing his bio, and he performs marriage ceremonies at the weekends for Orange County courts. So I thought it was, and he's also a realtor, so I thought this was perfect for him. So going back to how do you develop a relationship? Well, I'm going to tell you, you connect with people, which used to be a lot easier than it is right now, right, with COVID. So how do you connect with people? Well, now more than ever, the connection begins online with the written word. Now, I wrote that line 4 years ago. I had no idea how much that was going to come into play, because now you can't be out and networking as much as you did before and meeting people. So you're going to try and make that relationship start online. And the first thing that you need to do is have a good bio, because the bio is what they're going to see probably first when they go online. So I first want to state, you know the difference between a resume and a bio? Most people tend to think that these terms are interchangeable, and they're really not. A resume tells what you do, and a bio tells who you are. So you see, they really are two very different things. I hate writing resumes, and I will only do it under duress for people I know very well. I love writing bios because I like to get into the personality and get to know the person and all their quirks and make them sound wonderful. So I really enjoy that. So did you know that 77% of people Google a person before they do business with them? And Google Analytics say that a large portion of traffic leads to your about page. So what does your about page say about you? You've probably got lots of about pages all over the place. You've got realtor.com, you've got a company website, maybe you've got your own website. So you see, you really need to make sure that your bios and your profiles are up to date. So I'd like to encourage you to look at your profile pages and ask yourself these questions, okay? Do I communicate my unique value proposition well? And as I said, if you really struggle with that, we have a class coming up on that in April. Is there agent speak in my profile? That's terms that consumers might not understand. You're so get used to industry jargon, CRS, MLS, and all these things, and consumers might not be as familiar. So you want to make sure that your profile doesn't contain anything that might kind of confuse people. Are my education credentials meaningful and up to date? And I'm going to address that in just a minute, what I mean by that. And also, are you trying too hard to sell? No one wants to be sold. You don't want to be pushy. You want to have a good mix there. And is there a high quality photo? And how do you know you've got a good quality photo? So talking about designations, what does the alphabet soup of abbreviations after your name mean to consumers? Not much, quite frankly. They see a list of letters here. They have no idea what that means or why it should even be important to them. Now, I'm not denigrating designations. I did education for many, many years for associations, so I'm very familiar with them. And I know how hard and how much time and effort agents put into getting those designations. But you really need to spell it out and not only say that, say why it matters. Say why you have that designation and why it matters to your client. So talking about bio, having said that, you don't want to be pushy. It's basically sales copy about you, correct? And like any good sales copy, it has four main parts. It needs a statement of fact or conviction, something that says what you do, and the benefit of what you do. You want to turn a feature into a benefit. And I'm going to tell you how to do that in just a moment. Evidence that proves that you can do what you say you do, and of course, the all-important call to action. So here's a bio I wrote for an agent a couple of years ago. And here's the fact right up front here. I've had Kathy as my realtor 4 times within the last 5 years, and I wouldn't hesitate to have her assist me again when the time comes to purchase another property. So there's the fact. It's, you know, she's a realtor. I've used her 4 times. Here's the evidence. Repeat realtor speaks for itself. She wouldn't go back to this person if she didn't think she was really good at what she does. And here's a benefit. Now, she has got the green designation. And so she doesn't just say, oh, I've got the green designation. She explains that she most recently earned it from the National Association of Realtors, enabling her to always be ahead of the curve in sustainability issues, something that concerns many of her clients. So she's kind of putting it in context there. And then down here, she has her call to action. You contact Kathy to put her creative eye and business acumen to work for you, or for a great cookie recipe. Now, I want to go back to that cookie recipe. It's kind of Kathy's Carmina Burana for me on that last bio. The paragraph above gives a little bit of personality and insight to Kathy. Kathy and her husband Dave love walking the trails in Laguna Niguel with their very amusing dog Bentley, or you can find Kathy baking up a storm, always looking to create that next great cookie recipe. Now, sometime after I'd done this bio for Kathy, Kathy was in a class that I was teaching, and she said, Deb, I've got to tell you, she said, when you wrote my bio and you had that information in there about me liking to bake cookies, I thought, why would she put that in there? That's nothing to do with real estate. What has that got to do with real estate? She said, but I thought, well, Deb knows what she's doing. I'm going to leave it in. She said a few weeks ago, and this was pre-COVID, she was showing properties to some new clients, and they were in the car. You know how you chit chat and you kind of start making those connections while you go from one property to the next. And the wife turned to her and she said, I knew I'd like you the moment I read in your bio that you like baking cookies. And Kathy said, I thought, it was a light bulb moment. She put her personality in there. So you never know when you write a bio, if they're an engineer type and it's all about, you know, they want to know you can do what you do, there's one thing, but you also want to put your personality in there. And it can be something as simple as a cookie recipe. This is another agent I did a bio for, and we did a bio for 2 reasons, because she was going to be doing a video bio. And a lot of agents get very nervous about being on video. And so we came up with a way that I would write her bio, and then I would feed the videographer questions that she could answer on camera. So she wasn't kind of like a deer in her headlights on camera, thinking about what to say. So I'd interview her, get her story, write her bio, and then we would put this together. So I'm going to hopefully get this in here so I can bring this in for you. And I'm not going to play the whole thing, but I just want to get you a gist here.
The one thing that happened that really triggered me to choosing real estate full time was I was helping somebody buy a house, and I did their wedding at the same time. And after the whole thing was done, after her wedding was done and the house was closed, she said to me, Suzanne, you do weddings. You love real estate. And I thought, you know what, you're right. I like doing weddings, but I love real estate. I've worked for other companies and I have not found one that even comes close to what this company offers. Rita keeps up on all the current things that are happening within real estate, and she makes sure we know about them. We're responsible for people's livelihoods. You know, their money that they've saved for a home to live in. It's a big responsibility.
So I'm going to end it right there. And so you see what she does. She gives you how she got into real estate. She comes across very real, very authentic. She talks about why it's important, the company that she's with. And then she acknowledges that, you know, buying a home is probably the largest financial transaction anyone will make. And because that's so important, She wants to make sure she knows all what she needs to know to make sure it's a safe environment for her clients. So she really kind of tells the story of what she's about, and I think that she comes off very well and very authentic. So you want to stop the hard sell. You know, your real estate profile is your biography. It's where you can learn about you, where someone can learn about you, how you work, what you can do for them. It's not an overt advertisement, even though it's sales copy about you. You don't want to be too pushy. And the real secret is, even though a bio is about you, it's not really about you. It's about what you can do for them. That's what they read in the bio about. They want to know, would I like this person? Would I like to do business with them? So let's talk about how you can turn a feature into a benefit. This is how you sell the sizzle, not the steak. And first of all, what you want to do is you want to make a list of features of what you do and how you do it. And you know, if you go through this exercise, it really will help you with your bio, and if you have to do any other kind of web copy for your website. Second, you want to turn those features, what you do, into benefits. You want to explain the significance of what and how you do what you do, and also the advantage to your client, and offer proof of excellence. Above all, with your bio copy, you've got to be authentic. You've got to give the reader a reason to want to connect with you. You know, as I said, on those last bios, there was different reasons that drew people in to want to connect with them and feel comfortable with them. So here's the so what method. I have the CRS, Certified Residential Specialist designation. So what? Only 4% of agents nationwide hold the CRS designation. So what? Statistics show that agents with the CRS designation close more transactions than other agents. So what? So when you drill down and you keep using those so what phrases, you finally will get to the nugget that you really want. You want to get to the benefit. The benefit on this case is being able to network with this elite group gives me access to a bigger pool of buyers and sellers, so you can find your new home quicker or sell your home faster. So don't just say you've got the CRS, explain what that means for your clients, why they should be interested that you have that. And you can use the so what method in any industry, anything. It works over and over again. So I'm going on from words to something a little bit more visual. Did you know that you can make any profile that you've got 7 times more likely to be found in searches if you add a profile photo? Now they say a picture is worth 1,000 words. I know you'll see it probably at 10,000 words rather. I know that a lot of places say 1,000 words. The original quote is 10,000 words, and that was coined by an ad agency man way back in the 1950s. But if your picture looks like what you see on the screen here, these grayed out silhouettes, what do you think that tells the consumer? Well, NAR wondered that, because I don't know if you've been on realtor.com, but you have a place there for free where you can put your profile. A lot of people don't put anything, or if they put a few words, they usually don't have their photo, they have this. So NAR did a survey with consumers and said, what do you think when you see this? And the consumer said, we thought it meant the agent had died, that the agent was dead. So if you don't want to be a zombie realtor, you need to make sure that you've got your photo, right? And I'm not talking about a selfie. You know, you want to make sure that it's professional. So how sure are you that your headshot is professional? Now, I know last time I did a little presentation for your office meetings, there was talk about bringing in a photographer to do headshots for you. I hope that happened, because a lot of people don't have good headshots. You know, obviously you don't want to pose with a dog, a cat, a horse, or a child. Pose with a phone in your hair. That looks so phony baloney. You don't want to pose with your arms crossed, because it either makes you look bored, angry, or both. You don't want to use an old photo. Now, I have to share a story with you. Some years ago, when the Orange County Register had that great big real estate section every weekend in the paper, and a lot of the major franchises had advertorial space. I used to do a lot of work for Remax, and we used to have advertorial space to promote their new agents when they just joined the company. And I do a little write-up about them, their bio, and we'd send in a photo. Well, I had this one agent, and I'd send her bio draft. She loved it. I asked for the photo, and I wasn't getting a photo from her. And I was getting a little kind of frustrated. So in the end, I called the office manager and I said, hey, Nancy, I said, I've done the bio for your new agent. She loves it. I can't get a photo from her. She says, oh, that's really unusual. She said, she's usually so responsive. She said, she'll be in the office later today. Let me have a word with her. Well, a few hours later, I got a call from Nancy, and she was laughing so hard I could hardly understand what she was saying. She said, Deb, you're not going to believe this. She said, I asked her, how come you haven't got your photo? Don't you have a photo of yourself? And she said, oh, yeah, I've got lots of photos of myself. She said, well, what's the problem? She said, I'm looking for an old one. So Nancy kind of scratched her head and said, why would you think you need to use an old photo? She said, well, that's what I thought you were supposed to do, because I see all these real estate agents' business cards and they've all got old photos of themselves on it. Now, I understand that, a lot of our old photos, we're either 20 pounds less in weight or 20 years younger, and we like that picture better than we look now, but that's not being authentic. It's like being on a dating site and seeing a picture, and when you meet me in person, you wouldn't think it was the same person, right? So don't use an old photo. You want to make sure that your photo is current and up to date. You do want, yes.
Yeah, I have a question. It's Vicki Corpenter.
Right.
Two things. What about, because you said don't pose with a basically it would be your pet, I'm assuming, or, and your children. But what about, we've got a couple people here that work in strictly in equestrian ranches, and, horse is what they do.
Yeah, that's a good point to bring up. If that is their specialty niche, then I think they definitely get a pass for that. I also have a client who a couple of years back, she was known as the pet friendly realtor. And she liked to work with people that had pets, and she would, as part of her service, she would get them, when she got them into a new house, give them things to how to make your pet feel comfortable moving in, how to find a vet, and do all that stuff. So if you have a specialty like that, then definitely I don't see any problem with using that in your photo.
And the other thing that I see a lot of, and you talked about not crossing your arms, but what about putting your hand on your hip?
I don't know that it depends on how the pose comes across. I'm going to show you in just a few minutes some other poses, and you can see, and you might want to take a picture of you standing with your hand on your hip and standing more casual, and show people and ask them what they think of it. And I also have a site you can go to, and you can check those photos out where you can find out what people think. So bear with me, Vicki. You had some great questions. I'm going to kind of show you in the next few slides some of the answers, I think, to what you're asking. So I also want to talk a little bit about poses online, and I'm going to share this video with you. And now I give you a disclaimer up front. He's a Scotsman, so you might find his accent, his brogue, a little difficult to understand, but I think you'll understand the visual here. And this is a guy that does LinkedIn stuff.
A number of LinkedIn profile photo types that you do
here we go.
not want to have. I have seen all of these before. Trust me. Ready? Let's go.
So you can see there's some poses there that obviously, you say they look ridiculous, but you'd be surprised how many times people use them. So here's some profile pictures, do's and don'ts. You want the modern headshots, either they have blurred backgrounds or on location headshots or in studios in front of a plain wall. Now here's some outdated poses. And when you look at the photos on the left and the photos on the right, you can see these look very awkward compared to the more candid shots or the studio posed pictures. You also want to avoid the outdated backgrounds. I mean, do you remember the time when glamour shots were the thing of the past? You had the hair blowing in the wind and the faux backgrounds. Those are not in trend anymore. You do want to connect to your viewer with eye contact. You want, again, it's a body language thing, Vicki, that you had addressed. As you see these two pictures here, you can see that you get drawn into the photos of a person that's making eye contact, looking directly at you versus peering off into the distance. And there was actually research done by Loyola Marymount University in LA that showed that people who maintain eye contact are consistently judged as having a higher IQ than those that don't. So you can see the difference there. Here's a power pose, pictures that show confidence as opposed to more casual. Wear a suit jacket and have the shot professionally taken. Now, this is the same lady, and you can see it gives a totally different vibe. This is way more casual. She's got a great smile. She's neatly dressed, but this photo is definitely much more professional. You can see the big difference there. You want to take the photo slightly below eye level. If you take it from above, it hurts your perceived influence because it makes the viewer look down on you and you don't seem as important. So there you can see that. Now, this is one that surprised me when I did some research into this. If you're having trouble appearing competent, you might benefit from wearing glasses. It's cliche, but data says it actually works. It makes you look more competent. And these two lovely ladies are very competent. This is Rita Tayanaka, who's past president of an association. And this is Eileen Allroyd, who's president last year for Women's Council of Realtors. And they look amazing in their photos. So here's the site that I was telling you about, Photofeeler Com. And what it is, it's a tool that you can do, it's free for testing profile pictures. It gives you objective feedback in a respectful, moderated environment. It lets you know for certain how you're coming across, and you can test for business, social, or dating. And it gives you all different traits, and it's so easy to use. And I'm going to see if I can get you onto this site here. And oops, that's not where I wanted to go. Let me go back here. So this is my test, my current test that I have on Photofeeler. And as you can see up here, I don't have any credits. And you need credits to get people to vote on your photos. And you can get credits one of two ways. You can either buy the credits and get them that way, or you can elect to vote and get karma, get good karma. So right now I don't have any karma. I need to build my karma up. So now I'm going to vote on this business photo. So, and it's so easy to do. You can sit here in the morning with your cup of tea or coffee, and you can, it doesn't take too long to build up karma. So here's the picture. Does he look competent? And I'm going to say, yeah, he looks somewhat competent. Is he likable? I would say yes. Does he look influential? Somewhat, I'm going to go. Now you can come down here and do quick notes. You can say, you know, you like the outfit, he looks professional. You can make suggestions, you know, the background's distracted or it's blurry, or you can't see the face. To me, I think the shadow, he's got a little bit of a shadow here. So you can actually just click on any of these, and it doesn't take a second to go through this, you know. And you can also do write a note here if you want to. And so you submit your vote, okay? And then it gives you another picture. And as you can see down here, I'm earning karma here because I've actually started to vote. So you can actually do that. You can vote, and it's free. It doesn't cost anything for you to do that. And I have put up 3 photos at different times and tested them. As I said, this is my latest one here. And the first photo was taken of me. I was at a business meeting, and they needed a picture for the newsletter, and they basically kind of put me up against the wall and took a picture. And the second photo was an outdoor picture taken, and then the third one was done as a studio with a professional photographer. And you can see the votes here. So on this first picture here that I posted, my competent mark was only 5.7. When you looked at the professional picture at the end here, my competency mark went up to 9.2. My likability went from a 7 to an 8. And my influential went from this one, a 4.4, to the middle one to 6.5, to my last one to a 9.3. So you can see, you can test different photos and just see how they're perceived. And Vicky, I would posit that you might want to do one with a hand on the hip or in another pose and just see what feedback you get. Because these are people that, you know, if you ask your family members, they're going to say, oh, you look great. I mean, they're not going to want to hurt your feelings. So really getting objective from a third party really is valuable. And as I said, you can do this and it's free. It doesn't cost anything. And it's really eye-opening, some of the results that you get.
Jennifer said you need thick skin for Photofeeler.
Well, the thing is, no one knows who's voting. You don't get to know who's voting on you. So, you know, you can really be authentic. You can really be real. And if they make comments, you get a list of all the comments. Sometimes people will add something in, you know, and it's interesting because when I've looked down the comments, sometimes I've heard 2 totally different comments from different people with different perspectives. But, you know, you get a really good overall sense on that. So why are profiles or bios important? They're often the first thing that your potential clients will see. And many people will review profiles to determine which agent to contact. And you'd be surprised, you know, how many times people will Google you to go online and see who you are. And I just want to remind you, you never get another chance to make a good first impression. Also, your sphere of influence isn't only local, it is global these days. You know, it's as close as your computer screen and as quick as a click of a mouse. So it's never been more important to get your bio not only written, but you've got to post it too, because you never know who's going to be Googling you next. And on that note, I want to give you 3 tips that you can take away with you. The first one is Google yourself. And you're going to love me for this tip. Make a list of all the sites where you have your bio or profile posted, because I guarantee there's a lot of places where you've got your profile or your bio that you've forgotten about. And it's really helpful to have that list. You know, when you want to update your profile, or you've added a new designation or a new skill, and you try to remember all the places. So it's worthwhile taking that. So Google yourself, find out what you've got out there. Review your bios before our next class, because we're going to take a deep dive into bios in the next class. This one was branding and how the bio plays into branding, but the next one is bye boring bio, and we're really going to kind of deep dive into how you can craft those bios. What we're going to learn on that class is useful steps to craft your bio, and there's an exercise I'm going to give you called the 1, 2, 3 exercise, which hopefully will inspire you, a template that you can customize, and examples of really good introductory paragraphs, and also what is EQ and why you want to include it in your bio. So that's what the next class is. And you know, the third thing is, you know, review your bio so you make sure that it's up to date and it's not too boring. And then the third thing, ask yourself, what do I want to be known for? And that one's probably going to take the most time. You really got to think about that. What do you want to be known for? So those are 3 tips that you can take away today. As I said, coming up, these are the next classes. The next one is the bye boring bio. And hopefully by the end of the series, you'll feel a lot more comfortable at tackling some of those writing projects. The how to get a competitive advantage is how to identify your unique value proposition. Got testimonials is, you know, people want testimonials, but when do you ask for them? How do you get them? What do you do with you get them? That's what that class is about. Are you LinkedIn or missing out? That is talking not only about your LinkedIn profile, but also push and pull marketing and how you can use LinkedIn for a centers of influence campaign to get free leads that cost you 0 other than a little bit of time. And then finally, help buyers say yes to the address. I know right now listings are golden. You just have to breathe on them and they're sold, right? But you know, usually when you get that listing appointment and you get the listing, you get the contract, you're all euphoric until it comes down like, oh, I've got to write the MLS description. Oh, I've got to come out with the brochure. What can I say that I haven't said a million times before? So hopefully if you take that class, you'll come up with some new perspectives on how to make your property previews really sing. And I am Deb from Put It in Writing. If you have anything you'd like to ask me, please contact me. My email is deb@wordsbydeb.com. I took my name out of my email because people always misspelled it and they never found me. So, and if you still have trouble, Nick, of course, has my contact information. So I hope you found value today and you found some new things you didn't know. And I also hope that I'll see you at the next class. And over to you, Vicky or Nick, whoever's going to be taking it away.
Well, I see Nick is there, but I'll go ahead. Thank you a lot, Deb. That was great information and ideas and suggestions. So I look forward to the next class, of course. And does anyone, can you take maybe a question or 2 from
Absolutely.
the group?
Yes.
Does anyone want to unmute themselves and ask Deb a question?
Hello.
Hello. Hi, Elizabeth.
So you were talking about bios, and I found that like on Facebook, there's like this little spot you can put bios, and it's so short. I feel like I can't say anything. Do you know?
Well, let me answer that one because I hate to say it up front because at the next class, you're going to learn why you need 3 bios. I know people freak out at having one, but what that bio is that you're talking about, that little bio, I used to call it the elevator speech bio, but with COVID, that's not kosher anymore. No one goes in elevators. So really what it is a connection bio. So if you meet someone and they need to introduce you, then you can use this little connection introduction bio. So you get your bio, you need one in the third person as if someone's writing about you. You need one in the first person, like you're writing about yourself. And you need this little connection bio so that when you've got those little spots where you've just got room for a paragraph, basically, a few sentences, it distills the essence of who you are and what you do. And I'm going to explain that in the next bio class. But that was a great question. Thank you.
Another question we got, Deb, was how do we sign up for the classes? And I can share that. She already showed the dates that Deb's going to be back for the series. So it's just like you did today. All the classes will be signed on by Zoom and 2 Wednesdays each month. Yeah, we were going to do it every other Wednesday, but because there's a conflict on the calendar, the next one's going to be on March 24th. No, March 17th. I think we moved that one up. We moved it up
March
to
17th.
Yes, ma'am.
But basically every other Wednesday after that next class.
Mhm.
Any
other questions? And remember, we'll see her next week, I think. So we can, if you have questions, write them down and we'll ask again next week.
I'm gonna put my email in the chat. If anybody wants the recording, please send me an email and I will shoot it over today once it's done processing. So
Thanks, Michael.
Right. Well, thank you, everyone. Have a great rest of the day and stay dry.
You too, Deborah. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Bye-bye now.
Bye-bye.